Hello, I'm Rob, and thank you very much for checking out R&B Reviews. The summer blockbuster season is over, so I'm doing a video on the movies that I thought were the best of the summer blockbuster season, as well as a video on what I thought were the 5 disappointing movies of the summer, which I'm about to do. The reason why I'm not doing a worst list is because I wasn't able to see every movie that came out this summer, and some of the movies that ended up getting bad reviews from professional critics as well as my fellow YouTubers, I ended up leaving those movies thinking they were okay. They weren't a horrible experience, so that's why I'm going to be going this route instead. So I picked 5 movies that I went to that I ended up leaving feeling, a little bit underwhelmed or disappointed with, and so we'll go ahead and get started on it then. Number 5 on my list was The Other Woman. That movie starred Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and Kate Upton, who find out that they've been seeing the same man. Leslie Mann's husband has been, seeing the other two, and they decide to come together and form a plot to get revenge against him. Now, and what was interesting is after I saw and wrote and recorded my review, I checked out some other reviews, and what I kind of found interesting was a lot of the male reviewers found the movie to be kind of sexist, while some of the female reviewers like Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailers and Krista Lemire liked it a little bit more. When I walked into this movie, I was not expecting a smart film like The First Wives Club. In the end, I got an amusing comedy that had sporadic laughs, but felt like it could have been tightened a little bit more. The middle felt like it went on and on after we had a somewhat good beginning. I felt like there were some missed opportunities, and there were random scenes that really had nothing to do with the plot. For me, it took a little bit too long for Cameron Diaz and Leslie Mann's characters to decide to go after this man, and I felt like Kate Upton's character really didn't add much to the film other than just be there for eye candy. The other 2 characters I thought contributed much more to the plot, and I really would have liked it if this movie just focused on those 2 instead of adding Kate Upton's character to the film. I thought Cameron Diaz and Leslie Mann helped me get through the film because of their performances, even though sometimes Leslie Mann's character came across as more of a stalker, but I thought the 2 of them had very good moments together. So overall, Other Woman, it was pleasant, it was amusing, but it wasn't really that great. I think it could have been, tightened, like I said. Number 4 on my list is a movie that seemed to be polarizing viewers. It was Transcendence. It starred Johnny Depp as a scientist who experimenting with artificial intelligence. And since the movie came out, a lot of reviewers have put the failure on the film on either Johnny Depp, which I don't think is fair, as well as first-time director Wally Pfister, who was the photographer or director of photography on the Christopher Nolan Batman films. This is his first film as a director. It wasn't a bad movie, but I felt like it was inconsistent in tone. In my original review, I kind of compared it to watching an anthology TV episode that had 2 stories that dealt with the same theme. The first half of the movie was definitely a much smarter story. It talked about the morals of crossing the line with technology, how far it can and should go, and if relying on technology is really beneficial to mankind. Halfway through, it became more of an action movie with a little bit of a horror element. I didn't really feel the same investment as I had with the first half. A lot of people complained that Johnny Depp looked bored in the film. Actually, I disagree. I thought that it was really nice to see him play a more believable and realistic character. The so-called villain in this movie is this anti-technology group that's trying to prevent, this whole artificial intelligence thing from happening. The leader is played by a very stiff Kate Mara, and this is one of the examples of the inconsistencies of the film. In the first half, the group comes across more as like this crazy cult, while in the second half, they kind of become less violent and more of a peaceful group. I think the film had a very good visual look. I thought it had very striking, colorful photography. I just think that the script needed a little bit more work. I felt it only scratched the surface with what it was trying to say. I think Wally Pfister needs to work on keeping a consistent tone and directing the actors a little bit more, but it wasn't a bad movie, but it was, for me, one of the disappointments of the summer. When I first saw the trailers and before I went into this movie, I knew what I was getting into because it was produced by Michael Bay and all that, but the movie for me ended up coming across more as a live-action cartoon. I mean, on top of that, it's full of cartoonish performances, dialogue, and plot points. I mean, if you're going to go see this movie, don't expect, deep meaning. It's just a thrill ride that you don't take very seriously. One of the problems I had with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was that the Turtles, their CGI this time around, and I didn't really like the look of them. They didn't really look like Turtles to me except for the shells. They came across more as alien, in my opinion. There's a lot of slow motion and chase scenes, and compared to some of the other blockbusters this season, like Guardians of the Galaxy or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I kind of found them to be boring and lacking in adrenaline to really have me on the edge of my seat. And Michael Bay might as well have directed this film in addition to producing it, because the director that they used, he basically uses the same techniques that Bay used in his films. But one of the things I do like about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was they did try to make April O'Neil a stronger female character. But other than that, it's just a popcorn action flick, which is fine. If you're looking for a fun thrill ride, you know, this one would be good for you. Number 2 on my disappointment list is Tammy, starring Melissa McCarthy. Now, I just want to say that I think Melissa McCarthy can be funny, because when she's in good projects like The Heat, you know, she can be very good. But when she's in doing other films like, you know, Identity Thief, she can fall flat if she doesn't have the, you know, strong material to work with. But what's interesting about this movie is that McCarthy co-wrote the script with her husband, Belle Falcone, who directed this film. I kind of left the theater feeling a little bit underwhelmed with it. One of the pluses to Tammy was that McCarthy tells a good story about a character that complains that life sucks but doesn't do anything about it. I think she needs to work a little bit more on the scripting, because sometimes the characters could be inconsistent. I could tell that there were lines that were supposed to be funny that weren't. McCarthy herself could come across as a little bit whiny and wanting to pick random fights. I think it worked much better in The Heat, because she had another character, Sandra Bullock, you know, to play off of. I think she had better reasons for getting into somebody's face, and also you get scenes with her family where they behave just like her, and you can kind of see where she got her characteristics from. But in the end, I ended up not caring much for her character at all. The movie itself has a few fine actors. Some of them I thought were a little bit miscasted. For example, Susan Sarandon played her grandmother, which surprised me, because before we see her, the character talking about how sickly she is, but I thought she was just a little bit too young to be playing a grandmother. I would like to have seen maybe Carol Burnett or Betty White play this character. Also, Allison Janney plays Melissa McCarthy's mom, and they're about the same age, and I didn't find that believable either. But the movie was not without highlights. There were some good moments, like where McCarthy and Susan Sarandon's character pick up men in a bar, and I really loved Kathy Bates' character as Tammy's, I guess, aunt. I thought she gave the best performance in the whole film. This is Ben Falcone's first film as a director. I think he's very good with camera shots, but I think he needs to work a little bit more on pacing, and if something is not working, he should let it go in the editing room. It had its moments, and I respect McCarthy and Falcone for, you know, having control of their own project. I think they just need a little bit more work. I'm also concerned that McCarthy's going to keep playing these same characters over and over again, and she's going to be getting tired with some audiences. Alright, now what was the most disappointing movie of the summer for me? The answer is Seth MacFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West. Now, I really like some of MacFarlane's other work. I thought Ted was a very funny movie, and I like some stuff from Family Guy. But this movie, I ended up leaving the theater not thinking it was quite as funny as his other work. I kind of found this film to be underwhelming. The movie had some fine acting from its supporting cast, including Sarah Silverman and Giovanni Ribisi, and it did have some comic moments, like, for example, it parodies the Western fights in the saloon, and I really liked, Sarah Silverman's character. She plays this prostitute, and she's engaged to Giovanni Ribisi's character, and Giovanni Ribisi's like, before we get married, I'd like to have sex with you, and Sarah Silverman's like, I don't believe in premarital sex. I really thought, that aspect was funny. I also like that the film made fun of, women's fashion at the time. There's a lot of jokes on that, but in those moments, Seth MacFarlane used humor to make his points. In some other scenes, he comes across as somebody that's giving a lecture about, religion, living in the West. Instead of using jokes to attack these thoughts, he basically came across as a lecture, and, he could have used humor for those moments. As for Seth MacFarlane, I did end up feeling he didn't have the screen presence for this character. I think he definitely works much better as voiceover. I do give him credit for giving it, playing the lead character a shot, but I felt like it didn't work for me. I felt like the jokes and a lot of the setups were not very good here. I do give him credit for trying to set something in the past instead of contemporary times, but in the end I felt like it didn't work. I felt in the end it was an underwhelmed comedy. Alright, so that's my list of the 5 movies that disappointed me this summer. Number 5, The Other Woman. Number 4, Transcendence. Number 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Number 2, Tammy. And number 1, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Alright, so what were the movies that you were disappointed with this past blockbuster season? Go ahead and post your comments, as well as if you have any disagreements on my choices. And if you're interested, come check out some other videos on the channel and consider being a subscriber. Thank you very much for watching.